Hi, this is Eric Brostowski. Welcome to another episode of EP on EP. This is a really special one for me because I have Melanie Truhills with me. And Melanie is probably, most of you know anyway, is the founder and director of StopAFib.org, which is, I still think, the #1 patient website,
Yes.
Melanie.
Yep.
So welcome. And usually you're interviewing all of us, but I'm turning the tables on you today. And I'll tell you the main thing I want to get out. I find it so frustrating when patients come to me for often a second or third opinion on how little information their doctors have given them. And I know this has been a quest of yours. Would you tell our audience what should the doctors, and not just EPs of course, what should people be telling people that patients need to know and how they can get information?
Well,
I didn't mean to say. Obviously, your website's great, and I
Thank
give
you.
that to people. But not everybody knows your website's there
Right.
until someone tells them.
Exactly. And so, Eric, it's such a privilege to be here with you today and to have the opportunity to talk with the EP community. And many patients watch this as well because we spread the word around about the EP on EP series. And it's a really great opportunity for doctors to know what patients want. So often, patients will say, my doctor said, stay off the internet and only listen to me. Well, that may have been a good answer a few years ago. It's not a good answer today because there's so many great resources out there. So the first thing is we encourage doctors, particularly electrophysiologists, because that's who's seeing a lot of AFib patients and needs to know, they need to know about resources for AFib patients. They need to be aware of a designation called HAN code. Health on the Net Foundation puts out the HAN code. It's a red, blue, and black seal that says that the website is a credible, trustworthy medical website that's been through an audit to make sure it meets the 8 guiding principles for a credible, trustworthy website.
So H-A-N?
H-O-N.
H-O-N.
And it's, if you look on our website, stopafib.org, it's down in the lower right-hand corner,
Okay.
and you can even click on it and read the answers to our latest audit. We just finished our 11th audit for our HAN code seal. So it's an annual thing. So that's a really great thing for people to know about, doctors and patients to know about. StopAFib.org is a resource where we're trying to provide education for patients so that patients can communicate effectively with their doctors and be good partners in shared decision making. And I know you say that shared decision making is really good doctoring. Well, it's about the doctor and the patient communicating and understanding the doctor's expertise on AFib and also understanding the patient's values and preferences.
So you have a unique perspective because you hear what the patients are telling you, and the patients will tell you things I'm sure they won't tell me. So what are we missing? I mean, because I will be frank with you that I did my own little survey, and I like to think of myself as a pretty good teacher, and I spend time with the patients. And then I started asking my nurses to talk to the patients after I got done with them, and I found out at that initial visit, even though I thought I explained everything to them, they're so kind of deer in the headlights that they
Right.
just don't
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
So what advice do you have as a former patient with AFib? I know once a patient always, but thankfully you've not had a recurrence. What advice would you give us as the doctors to try to be better communicators to them?
Well, as you know, I actually surveyed the patient community in preparation for an American Heart Association scientific session, a general session, and brought the input of about 1,000 patients from around the globe to that keynote, and then wrote that up, and it's published in your journal. And so it really talks about 5 things that patients don't want to hear from their doctors and 5 things they do want to hear.
So tell me what they do want first.
So some of the things that patients want is they want their doctors to look at them, to listen to them.
So not
and
just
in
look
the
at their
days
screens.
in the days
Yes.
of computers and EHRs, that's really hard.
Yeah, I know.
And so, just taking some time to let patients know that you hear them, you understand them, and you're helping to personalize their treatment. So that's something that I think is really important. Very often patients won't have heard about blood clots and stroke because their clinician says, well, AFib won't kill you, but, and then they go on to talk about the blood clots and stroke. The patient got stuck on the word kill, and they're processing that, and they never hear about the blood clots and stroke. Because as you know, we've done surveys and found that about 95+% of doctors said, well, I talked about blood clots and strokes. Only about 50% of patients ever have heard their doctor talk about blood clots and strokes, and it's because there's difficulty with the communication.
Okay.
So helping patients truly understand at a pace that they can assimilate that information. So one of the things that you told me after a conference that we did together,
Yes,
was that the new patient appointment, you were thinking about changing it to 2 appointments because
Yes.
the patient can't deal with everything in
and
that
I've started
first
to
setting.
do that. It's absolutely right. I've started to do that when I can. It's not always easy because they're
Right.
coming from a distance.
Absolutely.
And I think I'm got to somewhere along the way get involved with some of this remote telemedicine,
Right.
even for a follow-up. But it is hard to process. And I've actually spoken to patients about it who are really intelligent people and said, what is it that I'm missing? They said, it's too much. It's
Absolutely.
just too much at once.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah, it's overwhelming.
So that's why it's really important for doctors to send patients to good resources to learn. So when they come back for that next appointment, they're better prepared to make some of those decisions, and they're not quite as overwhelmed. It's not the deer in the headlights scenario.
So give me, with the short time we have left, give me the one thing we shouldn't do. I'm sure there's a lot of things we should do, but what's the biggest complaint?
Be careful with language, because
Too technical, or?
Well, it can be too technical, or sometimes it can just be dismissive. Not really understanding what AFib does to the patient, and so sometimes language can minimize what the patient's feeling. And so being empathetic and really listening to the patient and understanding what they're going through, because we're all different. And therefore it's important to tailor the treatment to the individual patient, their lifestyle, and their needs.
Yes, and I found, I've been on this kick, sinus rhythm is a bridge to the future.
Absolutely.
And I think with Cabana and other studies coming out suggesting that people feel better in sinus.
Yeah.
You and I have worked together on that. I'm hoping it's
Exactly.
going to catch on, but more and more patients come to me in AFib for 2-3 years because their doctor said, don't worry about it. So you and I have to work together on this with the Heart Rhythm Society
Absolutely.
and at least get the word out. I think patients will make the final decision, and they should. But to make the final decision, we both agree, we have to give them in their terms what's going on and what the choices are. And so you've been extremely valuable. I send people to your website all the
Thank
time,
you.
as well as the Heart Rhythm Society. They have 2 different views. I mean,
Right.
yours are really patient-centric, and the Heart Rhythm Society is got a little, it concentrates on more some of the science.
Yeah.
And I think between the 2, maybe they'll get the word out. But the bottom line is, we have to do a better job getting people who don't know those are available to them. So, as always, thank you
Thank
for
you
all
so
your hard
much.
work.
Thank you.
Melanie.
Thank you. It's a privilege.
Okay.